By Camilo Mejia, Stephen Cohen, La Carmelita, Colombia. Image copyright Camilo Mejia. Image caption: A farmer cuts back weeds on his coca plantation in La Carmelita in the remote region of Putumayo in southern Colombia. The economy depends almost entirely on one thing: coca, the raw ingredient for cocaine. For the stores that sell fertilizer and pesticides, to the ubiquitous pool halls where rust machines field hands who harvest the coca leaves come to spend their modest earnings on cold beer and fried empanadas, it all comes back to one plant. Colombia's government wants to change this, as part of the peace deal it reached with the country's left-wing rebel group, the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia (FARC), last year. It will not be an easy task. Everyone from here who has gone to university has done so because of money from growing coca, explains John, who has been harvesting the leaf since childhood and is now studying forensic science at a technical institute in Mocoa, Putumayo's capital. Image copyright Camilo Mejia. Image caption: A Raspachen field hand takes a break from processing coca leaves in the jungle of Putumayo. As per the terms of the peace deal, the government has signed up almost 76,000 families to an ambitious campaign to substitute the growing of coca, poppy and marijuana with legal agricultural projects. John's family was one of 500 selected from the communities around the village of La Carmelita to participate in a pilot of the national program. Read more: Colombia coca cultivation on the rise. Colombia's coca crop plan has planned. Colombia really work toward the FARC success in the long term will depend not only on the viability of the new crops, but on the state's ability to transform its relationship with the marginalized regions where the 50-year armed conflict raged. For years, we've made clear that we're committed to leaving coca behind, given certain necessary conditions for our survival, said Los Dfi Velázquez Quintero, a community leader in La Carmelita. Image copyright Camilo Mejia. Image caption: Residents of La Carmelita hope the government is committed to the program. Now it's time to find out if the government is serious. Deep-rooted skepticism: This is not the first attempt to wean Putumayo off growing coca. Image copyright Camilo Mejia. Image caption: La Carmelita residents saw little of the money earmarked for alternative development under the U.S.-backed Plan Colombia. The authorities attempted to eradicate the plants from the air by spraying them with herbicides. Hundreds of millions of dollars were also channeled to the country for alternative development assistance, resources that locals say rarely found their way to Putumayo and the pockets of farmers there. While the new program is largely welcomed by La Carmelita's coca growers, distrust of government programs is an all-too-familiar sentiment. Unless there's transparency and a real willingness to involve and empower the communities, what's most likely is that people end up going back to coca, warns Yuli Zuluaga, a regional representative of a recently formed National Coca Growers Association. Peace brings new opportunities. Government officials say they have learned the lessons of Plan Colombia. They think that having former FARC rebels on board will make a big difference. The rebels financed their armed struggle through taxes on coca production and therefore had a vested interest in the business flourishing. But even with a peace process now firmly in place, challenges remain. In June, participants in the pilot scheme received the first of 6 bi-monthly food subsidies worth £2 Colombian pesos $665 £500 each. In exchange, those who received it have promised to take part in a 12-month voluntary coca eradication scheme. Image copyright Camilo Mejia. Image caption: The border village of Tetai, just 20 kilometers from La Carmelita, has no electricity, water or sewerage system, but whether the farmers' new projects will be productive will ultimately depend on whether money is invested in Putumayo's poor health care, education, and infrastructure. Conflict in Monitoring Group Ideas for Peace Foundation concluded in a recent report. There are no hospitals or drinking water and only little electricity for miles in any direction from La Carmelita. The only adequately funded public institutions are the military bases built to protect the region's oil pipelines. The problem isn't figuring out what to produce, explained Jesus Antonio Toro Martinez, president of AgroPal, a local farmers association. Image copyright Camilo Mejia. Image caption: Jesus Antonio Toro Martinez has left behind coca farming to grow plantains. The problem is that we don't have electricity to store it, we don't have the equipment to process it, and we don't have roads to bring it to market. In other words, we don't have commerce. Mr. Toro, a local farmer and former Raspajan, says that taking plantains to the nearest urban center of Puerto Asis is no easy task. He says that the costs for transporting bundles on speedboats or local buses known as chivas can add up to as much as 90% of the final sale value. A volatile environment. In March, the U.S. released figures suggesting that a record 188,000 hectares 1,880 square km of land in Colombia had been planted with coca last year, an 18% increase compared with 2015. Image copyright Camilo Mejia. Image caption: the government hopes La Carmelita residents will move away from planting coca for good and dedicate themselves to other trades. The report triggered renewed claims from opponents to the peace process in Colombia and conservatives in Washington that the government's reformist approach has promoted lawlessness. With pressure mounting and the 2018 national elections looming, President Juan Manuel Santos announced that he intends to eradicate 100,000 hectares by next year, half through substitution and half through manual eradication. We need results to prove to ourselves, to the country, and to the world that this is the right way forward, Miguel Ortega, a government substitution official, told La Carmelita residents. Camilo Mejia is an Australia-based journalist and co-founder of Vela Colectivo. Stephen Cohen is a US-based journalist and former editor at Columbia Reports.